The crack of his palm against her face echoed across the country club terrace like a gunshot. 40 witnesses, designer dresses, champagne glasses frozen mid-sip, and Natalie Wade, 6 months pregnant, stumbling backward in an emerald dress her husband had chosen that morning. But here's what nobody knew. The bartender mixing drinks 10 feet away, the one who'd been serving their social circle for 3 months, he wasn't just any bartender. He was Bennett Wade, her estranged brother, $57 billion tech CEO, working undercover, watching, waiting, documenting everything. And when Derek Fontaine made the mistake of hitting his pregnant wife in public, Bennett finally had what he needed to destroy him. This is the story of how a single slap unraveled 5 years of abuse, exposed a family's darkest secrets, and revealed that sometimes the person saving you has been there all along. You just didn't recognize them behind the bar. Stay with me, because what happens next will make you believe in justice again. The crack of his palm against her face echoed across the country club terrace like a gunshot. Natalie Wade stood frozen, 6 months pregnant, her hand instinctively flying to her burning cheek. The emerald dress Derek had chosen that morning suddenly felt too tight, too expensive, too wrong. Around them, conversation died. Crystal glasses paused halfway to lips. The string quartet in the corner stumbled through a measure before falling silent. "Derek," she whispered. Not a question, not even a protest, just his name, hanging in the evening air like an accusation she was still too afraid to make. Her husband stood over her, his face twisted with something that might have been rage or might have been satisfaction. His breath smelled like whiskey and something bitter she could not name. The Riverside Country Club's annual charity gala spread out behind them. 200 of the city's wealthiest residents suddenly very interested in their champagne flutes. The evening had started wrong. Derek had been angry before they even left the house, his jaw tight in that way that made Natalie's stomach clench. Another business deal gone bad. Another afternoon of drinking. Another litany of small failures he would somehow make her fault. "You embarrassed me," Derek said. His voice was low, controlled, the voice he used when he wanted everyone to hear but no one to think he was shouting. "Chatting with the help like your best friends. Do you have any idea how that looks?" Natalie had been talking to Ben, the bartender. The new one who had started 3 months ago, always friendly, always remembering she preferred ginger ale for her nausea. They had been discussing chocolate chip cookies of all things, her mother's recipe. The way Eleanor Wade used to make them every Sunday when Natalie and her brother were small. "I was just being polite," Natalie said. Her voice came out smaller than she intended. It always did lately. "Polite," Derek laughed. The sound carried across the terrace. "You were being familiar with staff. Your mother was a waitress, Natalie. Maybe you should remember your place before you drag me down to yours." The words hit harder than the slap. Natalie felt her throat close. Around them, people were starting to turn away, granting them the privacy that wealthy people always afforded domestic disputes. Nothing to see here, just a marriage having a difficult moment. None of our business. She tried to walk away, just needed space, just needed air, just needed to not be here, not be seen, not be this person everyone was pretending not to watch. Derek's hand clamped around her upper arm, hard. The same spot where bruises from last week had just started to fade. She pulled back instinctively, protective of her belly, protective of the baby who'd been kicking all night like she could feel her mother's fear. That was when his hand flew. The impact sent Natalie stumbling backward. She caught herself on a cocktail table, sending glasses crashing. Her vision blurred. The world tilted. She put both hands on her pregnant stomach, counting heartbeats, making sure everything was okay, making sure the baby was okay. Total silence on the terrace now. Then a voice. Cold, dangerous, unfamiliar to everyone except Natalie. "Take your hands off my sister." Natalie looked up. Ben, the bartender, was walking toward them. But he was not moving like staff anymore. He was not moving like someone who served drinks or cleaned tables or smiled politely at rude customers. He was moving like someone who owned buildings, which Natalie suddenly realized with a shock that made her head spin. He did. Many of them. Derek laughed again, nervous now. Your sister? This is rich. The bartender is claiming Bennett Wade. Ben's voice cut through Derek's words like ice through water. Wade Technologies, 57 billion in net worth as of market close today. And you just assaulted my pregnant sister in front of 40 witnesses. The color drained from Derek's face so fast Natalie thought he might faint. Around them, recognition rippled through the crowd. Wade Technologies, one of the 5 largest tech companies in the world. The mysterious, reclusive CEO that business magazines could never get photographs of. The man whose software ran in 70% of Fortune 500 companies. Working as a bartender. For 3 months. Bennett? Natalie's voice cracked on his name. Her brother. Her actual brother, who she had not spoken to in 2 years after the fight about her wedding. Standing in front of her in a bartender's vest and black slacks, looking at Derek like he was deciding whether to destroy him financially or physically first. It's okay, Nat. Bennett's eyes never left Derek. I've got you now. Derek was stammering. I didn't know. I had no idea. She never said. We can talk about this, man to man, you understand. Stress, the pregnancy. She's been emotional? Stop talking. Bennett took another step forward. He was shorter than Derek by 2 inches, but somehow seemed to fill more space. You have the right to remain silent. I suggest you exercise it, because everything you say right now is being recorded by 7 different devices, and I promise you every word will be used against you. Natalie's legs felt weak. She sank onto a chair someone had pulled over. Her cheek throbbed. The baby kicked hard 3 times in rapid succession. She put her hand over the spot, rubbing gentle circles, whispering soundless reassurances. I need to call my lawyer, Derek said. His confidence was returning in small increments, the way it always did when he remembered his family's name, their money, their boy, their power. This is assault. He's threatening me. Everyone heard. My wife, your wife. Bennett's smile was not kind. Let's talk about your wife. My sister. The woman you have been hitting for how long now? A year? 18 months? How many bruises have you explained away, Derek? How many times has she made excuses for you? I don't know what she told you. She didn't tell me anything. She stopped talking to me 2 years ago because I told her you were not good enough for her. Turns out I was right. Security was approaching now, not country club security. Different men in different suits with different earpieces, moving with military precision, surrounding the scene, creating a perimeter. One of them approached Bennett. Sir, the police have been called. ETA 3 minutes. Thank you, Marcus. Bennett still had not looked away from Derek. Also need medical. Make sure Dr. Hartwell is called. Natalie's OB. She'll want her own doctor to document everything. Already done, sir. Natalie watched this happen through a strange fog. Her brother whom she had cut out of her life because he saw too clearly what she could not admit. Her brother who had become a bartender, who had been watching Derek for 3 months, who had been waiting for exactly this moment. Why? She asked. Her voice sounded far away like it was coming from someone else's mouth. Why didn't you tell me you were here? Bennett finally looked at her. His expression softened. Because you wouldn't have believed me, and he would have hidden it better. I needed you to see what I've been seeing, what everyone's been pretending not to see. Derek was backing away now, calculating, weighing options. His mother would fix this. His family's lawyers would fix this. Money fixed everything. It always had before. You can't do this, Derek said. Do you know who my family is? We've been members here for 4 generations. My mother sits on the board. This is a private club. You're trespassing. I'm a member too, Bennett said mildly. Moved it 3 months ago, paid the initiation fee, though I did find it amusing that they tried to run a background check on Ben Parker, bartender, and completely missed that he was also Bennett Wade, CEO. Your club's security is impressively incompetent. Natalie's hands would not stop shaking. She tried to hide them in her lap, pressing them against the emerald fabric of her dress. Everything felt too loud and too quiet at the same time. People were talking in hushed voices. Phones were out, recording, posting. By tomorrow morning, this would be everywhere. I want to go home, she said. But she did not know where home was anymore. Not the house she shared with Derek. Not the penthouse she had lived in before marriage. Not anywhere. Come on, Bennett held out his hand. We're getting you somewhere safe. She took his hand, let him pull her to her feet, her brother's hand, rough with calluses that had not been there 2 years ago. Bartender calluses. He had learned to make drinks, had taken a course, had created a whole identity, had gotten himself hired at the one place Derek considered his second home, all to protect her. The weight of that realization made her knees buckle. Bennett caught her, steady and certain, the way he had caught her when she was 7 and fell out of the oak tree in their apartment complex. The way he had caught her when she was 16 and her first boyfriend broke her heart. The way he had always caught her until she told him to stop. I've got you, he said again. I promise, Nat. I've got you now. Behind them, Derek was shouting, making threats, demanding his lawyer. But his voice sounded distant now, less important, like a television playing in another room. Natalie touched her cheek. Still hot, still throbbing. The handprint would bruise. Everyone would see it. Everyone would know. Good, she thought. And then, more clearly, good, let them know, let them finally know. The baby kicked again. 3 times, always 3 times, like she was counting, making sure her mother was paying attention. Natalie pressed her hand against the movement, feeling the flutter of life beneath her palm. We're okay, she whispered. To the baby, to herself, to the universe. We're going to be okay. She did not believe it yet, but she would. Bennett moved Natalie through the country club like he owned it, which she was starting to realize he might actually be in the process of doing. His security team materialized around them, professional and efficient, creating a bubble of space that the shocked crowd could not penetrate. They ended up in the club's private Wellington room, a space usually reserved for board meetings and high-stakes poker games. Bennett guided Natalie to a leather chair and crouched in front of her, studying her face with an intensity that made her want to look away. Let me see, he said gently. She turned her cheek toward him. His jaw clenched so hard she heard his teeth grind. He pulled out his phone, took several photos, each click of the camera making her flinch. For evidence, he explained. Everything gets documented. Every single thing. Starting now. Marcus, the security man, was speaking quietly into his earpiece. 2 other men stood at the door. A woman in a dark suit appeared with a first aid kit and an ice pack wrapped in a white cloth. Miss Wade, the woman said, I'm Sarah Chen, Bennett's executive assistant. May I? Natalie took the ice pack, pressed it to her burning cheek. The cold helped. The pain did not go away, but it became sharper, more focused, easier to understand. I don't understand, she said, looking at Bennett, at her brother, who was somehow a stranger now. Why are you here? Why didn't you tell me? Bennett sat back on his heels, ran a hand through his hair. He had cut it shorter, she noticed, styled it differently, made himself look younger, less recognizable. The bartender disguise had been thorough. 3 months ago, Grace called me, he said. Grace? Natalie's heart lurched. Her best friend, ex-best friend. Another relationship she had let wither because Derek did not like how much time they spent together. She was worried about you, said you'd changed, said you seemed afraid, made excuses for bruises. Bennett's voice was carefully neutral, but anger simmered beneath every word. She said she'd tried to talk to you, but you kept insisting everything was fine. Natalie closed her eyes. Grace had tried, had asked careful questions, had offered to help, had suggested lawyers, therapists, shelters, and Natalie had smiled and changed the subject and slowly stopped answering her calls. I hadn't talked to you in 2 years, Bennett continued. That was my fault. I was an ass at your wedding. Said things I shouldn't have said, even if they were true, and you cut me out, which I deserved. But when Grace called, he stopped, swallowed hard. I couldn't just show up. Derek would have hidden everything better, made sure I never saw what Grace was seeing. So I needed a way to watch him, to see what he was really like when he thought nobody important was paying attention. So you became a bartender. Natalie's voice was flat, factual. Her brain was still trying to process this information, slot it into place, make it make sense. Took a 6-week course. Created a whole background. Fake reference, fake work history. Got hired here because I knew Derek practically lived at this club. Bennett smiled, but there was no humor in it. Turns out rich people don't really look at staff. We're invisible. Background noise. I could stand 3 feet from your husband, and he'd talk about you like I wasn't even there. What did he say? The question came out as a whisper. Nat, what did he say about me? Bennett held her gaze. Nothing you need to hear right now, but I've recorded all of it, every conversation, every comment, every threat. Threats, plural. Natalie's hand went to her stomach again. That protective gesture she could not seem to stop making. The baby kicked in response, a reassuring flutter that said still, here, still okay, still fighting. I watched him belittle you for 3 months, Bennett said softly. Watched you get smaller. Watched you apologize for things that weren't your fault. Watched you flinch when he raised his voice. Tonight, when he grabbed you, I saw Mom. Natalie's breath caught. Their mother. Eleanor Wade, who had worked double shifts as a waitress to keep them fed. Who had endured comments from men who thought they owned her because she brought them food. Who had taught Natalie to be polite, be accommodating, keep your head down and your smile bright. Mom never let anyone hit her, Natalie said. But even as she said it, she wondered if that was true, or if it was just what they had wanted to believe. Maybe not, but she took a lot of other things she shouldn't have had to take. Bennett stood up, his knees cracking. I swore I'd make enough money that you'd never have to do what she did. Never have to smile when someone disrespected you. Never have to take it because you needed the paycheck. But I married someone just like them anyway. The realization tasted bitter. You married someone who knew how to hide what he was. That's not your fault. The door opened. A woman in her late 50s entered, gray hair pulled back in a neat bun, carrying a medical bag. She looked at Natalie with kind eyes and professional concern. Natalie, she said, I'm Dr. Rebecca Hartwell, your OB. Bennett asked me to come check on you and the baby. You know Bennett? Natalie's head was spinning. We met about 3 months ago, Dr. Hartwell said. He wanted to make sure you had the best care. Paid your medical bills without you knowing. He's been very involved in making sure you and your baby stayed safe. Natalie looked at her brother. How much of my life have you been controlling? None of it. Bennett's voice was firm. I didn't control anything. I just made sure you had resources. Made sure people were watching. Made sure that when things went bad, we'd be ready. When, not if. I've been studying domestic violence patterns for 3 months, Nat. Learning everything I could. Talking to experts. Reading case files. The escalation timeline was clear. He was getting worse. The pregnancy made it worse. He felt like he had you trapped now, like you couldn't leave because you'd need him to support the baby. Bennett's hands clenched into fists. Tonight was always going to happen. I just wanted to be there when it did. Dr. Hartwell was setting up her equipment. Natalie, I need to examine you. Make sure the baby's okay. Document any injuries. Is that all right? Natalie nodded. Let the doctor help her to a couch along the wall. Lay back while Dr. Hartwell pulled out a fetal Doppler and pressed it to her stomach. The sound of her baby's heartbeat filled the room. Strong, fast, healthy. Natalie started crying. She could not stop. Tears ran down her face, hot and unstoppable, while her baby's heartbeat echoed around them. All this time, she had been so afraid. Afraid Derek would hurt the baby. Afraid she could not protect her. Afraid she was bringing a child into a nightmare she could not escape. Baby's fine, Dr. Hartwell said gently. Heart rate perfect. Movement good. You did well protecting her. Her? Natalie's voice broke. Oh, Dr. Hartwell smiled. I thought you knew. Yes, a girl. A daughter. She was having a daughter. A little girl who would need to learn how to spot danger, how to trust her instincts, how to know the difference between love and control. I'm going to teach her better, Natalie said, to Dr. Hartwell, to Bennett, to the universe. I'm going to teach her to never accept this. You're going to teach her by example, Bennett said, by leaving, by pressing charges, by showing her that women don't have to endure. The police are here, Marcus said from the doorway. And there's something else. Mrs. Fontaine Sr. has arrived with their family attorney. Natalie's stomach dropped. Vivian Fontaine, Derek's mother. The woman who had never thought Natalie was good enough for her son, who had spent 5 years making small comments about Natalie's background, her education, her clothes, her friends, her everything. Let them wait, Bennett said. We're finishing the medical exam first. Dr. Hartwell documented everything. The handprint on Natalie's cheek, the bruises on her arm, both fresh and fading, the anxiety evident in her elevated blood pressure, the way her hands shook when she talked about her husband. This will hold up in court, Dr. Hartwell said. I'll write a full report. And Natalie, I want you to know, those other times you came in with injuries, I documented those too, just in case. Other times? Bennett asked sharply. Dr. Hartwell looked at Natalie, asking permission. Natalie nodded. 4 times in the last year, bruised ribs, sprained wrist, contusions on her back and arms. Each time she had an explanation. Fell downstairs, bumped into a door, tripped over the doll they don't have. Bennett closed his eyes. His hands were shaking now too. I'm sorry, Natalie said, not sure who she was apologizing to. Her brother, her doctor, herself. I thought I could handle it. I thought it would get better. You thought what every victim thinks, Dr. Hartwell said, that you could fix him, that you caused it, that you deserved it. None of those things are true, Natalie. None of them. A knock at the door. Marcus poked his head in. Bennett, the police really need to take statements. And the Fontaine family attorney is threatening to sue everyone in the building if someone doesn't talk to him in the next 5 minutes. Let him threaten, Bennett said. But he looked at Natalie. You up for this? She was not. She wanted to crawl into bed and sleep for 1,000 years. She wanted to rewind time to before she met Derek, before she married him, before she let herself believe that love meant tolerating hurt. But her daughter was listening. Even now, in the womb, her daughter could hear her mother's heartbeat, could feel her fear, and Natalie would not teach her to hide. I'm ready, she said. She was lying, but she stood up anyway. The police detective was a woman in her early 40s with tired eyes and a kind voice. Her name was Sandra Martinez, and she sat across from Natalie in the Wellington room with a notepad and a recording device. Tell me what happened tonight, Detective Martinez said. In your own words. Take your time. Natalie told her. Started with the beginning of the evening, Derek's mood already dark before they left home. Described the tension at the gala, his drinking, the moment he saw her talking to Bennett. The bartender? The person he thought was beneath them both. He said I was embarrassing him, Natalie said. Her voice was steady now, detached, like she was describing something that happened to someone else. He told me my mother was a waitress, that I should remember my place. And then, I tried to walk away. He grabbed my arm. I pulled back because I was protecting my stomach, protecting the baby, and he hit me. With an open hand, a fist. Open hand, across my face, hard enough that I stumbled. Detective Martinez wrote this down. And there were witnesses? At least 40 people, maybe more. Everyone on the terrace. Good. The detective's expression was grim. That makes this easier, though I have to tell you, Miss Wade. Mrs. Fontaine, Natalie corrected automatically, then stopped. Actually, no. Natalie Wade, I'm going back to my maiden name. Ms. Wade, then. I have to tell you, cases like this can be complicated. Your husband's family has significant resources. They'll fight this. So do I. Natalie looked at Bennett, standing against the wall with his arms crossed. My brother has resources too, and unlike Derek's family, he didn't earn his money by exploiting people. Detective Martinez raised an eyebrow. You're Bennett Wade's sister. I am. That's going to make this very interesting. The detective closed her notepad. I've been working domestic violence cases for 15 years. Usually the victims don't have support, don't have witnesses, don't have anyone believing them. This time you have all 3. That's rare. Is it enough? Natalie asked. For an arrest? Absolutely. We've got witnesses, photographic evidence, medical documentation. Your husband is being arrested as we speak. Good, Natalie said, and meant it. The door opened again. A man in an expensive suit entered without knocking, followed by an elegantly dressed woman in her mid-60s. Vivienne Fontaine looked like she had been carved from ice in disappointment. Her eyes swept the room and landed on Natalie with an expression somewhere between disdain and fury. "This is unconscionable," Vivienne announced, "calling the police, making a scene, destroying my son's reputation, after everything our family has done for you." "Done for me?" Natalie stood up slowly. "What exactly have you done for me, Vivienne? Given you a life you could never have afforded, a home, a position in society, respect. You've given me nothing but criticism and contempt. For 5 years, you've made it clear I wasn't good enough for Derek. Well, congratulations, you were right. I'm not good enough because I actually have standards." Vivienne's face flushed. "How dare you?" "Mrs. Fontaine," Detective Martinez stood as well. "This is a police investigation. You need to leave." "I most certainly will not. That's my son you are persecuting. Based on the word of this ungrateful girl and her bartender brother." "Billionaire brother," Bennett said mildly. "Let's be accurate." "Money doesn't buy class," Vivienne snapped. "No, but apparently it buys you the ability to enable your abusive son." Bennett pushed off from the wall. "Let's talk about what your family has really done, Mrs. Fontaine. Should we discuss the women Derek dated before Natalie? The ones your lawyers paid to sign non-disclosure agreements?" Vivienne's eyes narrowed. "I don't know what you think you know. I know everything. I've spent 3 months investigating your son. Did you know about the embezzlement, the securities fraud, or were you too busy making sure the country club cameras were disabled tonight?" Silence. Complete silence. Detective Martinez looked up sharply. "The cameras were disabled?" "Technical difficulties," the attorney said quickly. "Unfortunate timing." "Or very convenient timing," Bennett replied, "especially since I spoke with the club president an hour ago. Patricia Kingsley confirmed that Vivienne requested certain areas have, quote, scheduled maintenance tonight." "That's a lie," Vivienne said, but her voice wavered. "Is it? Should we call Patricia in here? Get her statement on record?" The attorney put a hand on Vivienne's arm. "We're leaving. My client will not be answering questions without counsel present. And Mrs. Fontaine, I advise you to remain silent." "Smart advice," Detective Martinez said, "though I'll note that obstructing justice is a crime." They left. Vivienne walked out with her head high, but Natalie saw the fear in her eyes. The realization that this time, money might not fix everything. This time there were too many witnesses, too much evidence, too many people watching. "That was deeply satisfying," Grace said from the doorway. Natalie spun around. Her best friend stood there in jeans and a sweater, mascara smeared, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She looked like she had been sleeping when Bennett called. She looked beautiful. "Grace," Natalie breathed. "Hey, troublemaker." Grace crossed the room and pulled Natalie into a careful hug, mindful of her pregnant belly. "Sorry it took so long to get here. Traffic was hell." Natalie started crying again. Could not seem to stop tonight. Grace held her, steady and warm, smelling like the same lavender shampoo she had used since college. "I'm sorry," Natalie said. "I'm so sorry. You tried to help, and I pushed you away, and—" "Stop. We're not doing that. You survived. That's what matters." Grace pulled back, studying Natalie's face. "Though I'm going to kill Derek myself if I ever see him again." "Get in line," Bennett muttered. "You," Grace pointed to him. "Are you insane, but I'm a bartender? Really?" "It worked, didn't it?" "It worked." Grace's expression softened. "Thank you for keeping her safe. I should have done it 2 years ago. You're doing it now. That's what counts." Detective Martinez cleared her throat. "Miss Wade, I need to take your full statement, and then I need information about these previous incidents. The bruises your doctor mentioned. We'll need dates, photos if you have them, any witnesses." "I have witnesses," Grace said. "I saw bruises, took photos without her knowing. Was documenting in case—" She trailed off. "In case I ended up dead," Natalie finished. Saying it out loud made it real. She could have died. Derek could have hit her wrong, pushed her wrong, hurt her in a way that could not be hidden or explained away. He was going to kill me eventually, wasn't he? The statistics suggest— Detective Martinez hesitated. "Yes, domestic violence almost always escalates, and pregnancy is the highest risk period. He likely would have become more dangerous after the baby was born. Why? Natalie asked. Why does having a baby make it worse? Because then you're really trapped. Or he thinks you are. Can't leave as easily with an infant. Need financial support. Plus babies cry, demand attention, take focus away from the abuser. It threatens their control. Natalie sat down again. Her legs felt weak. The room was too hot. Her dress was too tight. She wanted to tear everything off, shower for hours, scrub away every moment Derek had touched her. I need air, she said. There's a private terrace, Marcus said. Secure, no press, no witnesses. Bennett helped her up, guided her through a side door onto a small balcony overlooking the golf course. The night air was cool and clean, stars overhead. The distant sound of sirens, Derek being taken away in handcuffs. She should feel something, satisfaction, relief, victory, but all she felt was numb. What happens now, she asked. Now you take it one step at a time, Bennett said. Tonight you give your statement. Tomorrow Grace files for divorce and restraining order. Next week we start building the case. But tonight you just breathe. I don't know how to do this, how to be a single mother, how to start over, how to... Her voice broke. You don't have to know yet. That's why you have us, Grace, me, a whole team of people ready to help. You're not alone anymore, Nat. You're not alone, so she wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this time support would last, that people would not drift away when things got hard, that she would not end up exactly where she started, alone and afraid. But trust felt impossible now. Derek had spent 5 years teaching her that she could not rely on anyone, that people would always disappoint her, that she was fundamentally unlovable. He's in my head, she whispered. Even now, even after everything, I can still hear his voice telling me I'm nothing without him. Then we'll spend however long it takes replacing his voice with yours, your real voice, the one that knows the truth. The baby kicked 3 times, emphatic, like she was agreeing. Natalie put her hand on her stomach, felt the flutter of movement beneath her palm, a reminder that she was not alone. She was 2 people now, and one of them needed her to be strong. Okay, she said, one step at a time. She did not believe it would be that simple, but she turned around anyway, walked back inside, sat down with Detective Martinez, started talking. And with each word, Derek's voice in her head got a little quieter. 3 in the morning. Natalie sat in the country club's Wellington room, now transformed into a makeshift command center. Grace had spread legal documents across the mahogany table. Bennett was on his laptop, multiple screens showing security footage, financial records, and what looked like corporate espionage files. Marcus stood guard at the door. Natalie held a cup of tea she could not drink. Her 4th. They kept going cold. This is what they'll do, Grace said. She was in full attorney mode now, her exhaustion hidden behind professional competence. The Fontaines will claim you provoked him. They'll say you're unstable. Pregnancy hormones. Emotional. Irrational. They'll paint you as a gold digger who trapped their son and now wants to destroy him. Let them try, Bennett said. His voice was cold, dangerous. The voice of a man who had built an empire from nothing and knew exactly how to dismantle one. I've been preparing for 3 months. He turned his laptop so they could see. This is video from my button camera. Every shift, every conversation, every moment I witnessed. Grace leaned forward, clicked through files. Her expression grew darker with each one. Derek at a business dinner, she said, discussing how to handle Natalie's, quote, growing independence. That was 6 weeks ago, Bennett said. 2 weeks after Natalie asked about going back to work part-time. He spent 40 minutes explaining to his colleagues how pregnancy was making her finally compliant. Natalie's stomach turned. She remembered that conversation, had suggested maybe doing some consulting work after the baby was born, helping other families navigate social services, using her social work degree. Derek had smiled and said, maybe we'll see, let's focus on the baby first. Then he had gone to dinner and laughed about her compliance. There's more, Bennett continued. Financial records showing embezzlement from his own company. Text messages to his mistress about, quote, handling Natalie after the baby's born. Medical records that Grace helped secure, documenting every suspicious injury. And testimonies. Testimonies? Natalie asked. From other women. Grace pulled out a folder. 4 of them. All dated Derek before you. All experienced escalating abuse. All were paid by the Fontaine family to sign NDAs and disappear. Natalie stared at the folder. There are others. Yes. And his family knew. His mother wrote the checks herself. The numbness was cracking. Underneath it, something hot and furious was rising. Natalie could feel it building in her chest, burning behind her eyes, making her hands shake for entirely different reasons now. I want to see them, she said. Natalie, I want to see the testimonies. I want to know what he did to them. I want to know everything. Grace hesitated, looked at Bennett. He nodded. Grace opened the folder, slid 4 witness statements across the table. Natalie read them one by one. Emily Carrington, dated Derek for 8 months. For 8 days, bruises on her arms, broken wrist, finally left when he threatened to kill her dog. Sarah Mitchell, dated Derek for 6 months. Controlling behavior escalated to strangulation. Paid $50,000 to sign an NDA. Jessica Huang, dated Derek for a year. Hospitalized twice with injuries she claimed were accidents. Fontaine family lawyers visited her in the hospital. Amanda Rodriguez, dated Derek for 4 months. Left after he pushed her down the stairs. Paid $75,000 and relocated to another state. They all have similar patterns, Grace said quietly. Charm at first, intense attention, love bombing, then isolation, control, criticism, violence. And I'm just number 5, Natalie said. Her voice was flat. Another woman who thought she was special. Another woman who believed his apologies. You're not another anything, Bennett said firmly. You're my sister. And unlike those other women, you have resources. You have witnesses. You have me. Do they? Natalie looked up. Do those other women have resources now? Or are they still bound by NDAs? Still afraid? Still thinking they were the problem? Some of them have agreed to testify, Grace said. If you press charges, if you're willing to make this public, they'll break their NDAs, they'll speak. They shouldn't have to be brave because I am. They should have been protected in the first place. Natalie's hands clenched around her teacup. His mother knew. His whole family knew. They just kept paying women to go away. Yes. Well, I'm not going away. No, Bennett said, you're not. But Natalie, you need to understand what this means. Going public, fighting them, it's going to get ugly. It's already ugly. It's going to get worse before it gets better. They'll leak stories, attack your character, dig up everything they can find, try to make you look like the villain. I don't care. Your daughter will see this someday. Every article, every comment, every accusation. Are you ready for that? Natalie looked down at her pregnant belly, put her hand on the spot where her daughter was sleeping now, quiet and trusting. What would she want her daughter to know? That her mother stayed silent? That her mother took a payout and disappeared? That her mother taught her to accept abuse as long as the check cleared? I want her to know I fought, Natalie said. I want her to know that when someone hurts you, you don't protect their reputation. You protect yourself, and you protect the next person they might hurt. Grace smiled, fierce and proud. That's my girl. All right, here's what we do. Tomorrow, I file for emergency protective order. You don't go back to that house. You don't see Derek. You don't communicate except through lawyers. I'm filing for divorce, full custody, child support. He'll fight it. Let him. We have video of him assaulting me while I'm pregnant. We have proof of prior abuse. We have 4 other women willing to testify. We have evidence of financial crimes. What does he have? His family's money and influence, Bennett said, which is not nothing, but it's also not everything. Not anymore. Marcus knocked on the door. Sir, Derek made bail. His mother put up her estate, and his lawyers have filed for emergency custody hearing. Natalie's blood went cold. Custody of what? She's not even born yet. They're claiming you're an unfit mother, dangerous, unstable. They want immediate custody upon birth. The room tilted. Natalie gripped the table. They want to take my baby. They want to try, Grace corrected. They won't succeed, But this is them playing dirty, trying to scare you into backing down. It's working, Natalie whispered. Then let it work for about 5 more seconds and then get mad, Grace said, because that's what they're counting on. They think you'll be so scared of losing her that you'll accept whatever terms they offer. Some custody, some control. As long as you promise to stop talking about the abuse. But if I stop talking, he gets away with it, and the next woman suffers, and your daughter grows up thinking this is normal. Grace leaned across the table. So no, we don't back down. We fight harder. Natalie's phone erupted. Text after text, notifications flooding in. She looked at the screen. Messages from numbers she did not recognize. Society contacts whose numbers Derek must have given out. All saying the same things in different words. How could you do this to him? You've ruined his reputation. Gold digger, liar, ungrateful bitch. Your baby will be ashamed of you. Grace took the phone, turned it off. That's his mother's doing. Coordinated character assassination. Trying to isolate you. Make you feel like everyone's against you. It's working, Natalie said again. Good. Remember this feeling. Because when you're on the stand, when you're telling your story, when you're explaining what he did, you'll remember how they tried to silence you, and it'll make you louder. Bennett was making notes on his laptop. Marcus, I want names. Everyone who texted Natalie. Cross-reference with Fontaine family connections. We'll handle them later. Already on it, sir. You can't ruin everyone who was mean to me, Natalie said. Watch me, Bennett replied. Despite everything, Natalie almost smiled. Her brother, overprotective to a fault, capable of holding grudges for decades, also capable of love so fierce it made him work as a bartender for 3 months just to keep her safe. I need to know something, she said. Why didn't you just tell me you were worried? Why the elaborate undercover operation? Bennett closed his laptop. Because 2 years ago, I told you Derek was bad news. I was harsh about it, judgmental, and you cut me out of your life completely. I realized later that I'd done exactly what abusers want. I'd isolated you further, proved to you that nobody understood your relationship, made it easier for him to convince you that you were alone. So you went undercover. So I found a way to be there without triggering your defenses. You'd gotten good at hiding things from people who knew you. But the bartender? He was just a nice guy who made your drinks and asked about your day. You didn't have to perform for him. I told you things, Natalie realized. Conversations came flooding back. Complaints about Derek she had disguised as jokes. Moments of honesty she would never have shared if she had known who she was talking to. God, I told you everything and didn't even realize it. You told me enough to know Grace was right, enough to start documenting, enough to be ready for tonight. You knew he'd hit me eventually. I knew the escalation pattern. I knew you were pregnant, which is the highest risk time. I knew he'd been drinking more, getting more controlling. I knew something would break. I just wanted to be there when it did. You saved my life, Natalie said. You saved your own life by pulling back when he grabbed you, by protecting your belly, by surviving 5 years of that marriage. I just made sure you didn't have to survive alone anymore. The first light of dawn was starting to creep through the windows. Natalie had been awake for over 24 hours. Her body ached. Her face throbbed where Derek had hit her. Her baby was doing somersaults, probably reacting to her elevated heart rate. I need to sleep, she said. My place, Bennett said immediately. Penthouse, full security. No one gets near you without going through Marcus first. I need clothes, toiletries. Everything's at the house. We'll send someone. You make a list. They'll pack everything. You're never going back there, Nat. Not alone. Not ever. Never going back. The house Derek had chosen, the furniture he had picked out, the life he had built for her like a cage disguised as luxury. Good, she thought. Let it all burn. Okay, she said, one step at a time. This time she almost believed it. Dawn broke gray and cold over the city. Natalie stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of Bennett's penthouse, 30 stories up, watching the world wake. From here, her problems looked small, manageable, like toys she could rearrange from a distance. She knew that was a lie. Behind her, Bennett was on the phone with his lawyers. Grace was crashed on the couch, finally sleeping after working through the night. Marcus had posted security at every entrance. The penthouse felt like a fortress. Natalie wished she felt safe inside it. Her phone was still off. She had not turned it back on since Grace took it from her at the country club. Did not want to see the messages, did not want to know what people were saying, did not want to watch her life become a spectacle for strangers to judge. "Food's here," Bennett called. She turned. He was carrying takeout bags into the kitchen. The smell hit her. Familiar. Childhood. Chinese food from the place near their old apartment. The one Mom used to order from on paydays. "You remembered," Natalie said. "Course I remembered. Sesame chicken for you, extra sauce, pork fried rice, egg rolls, the same order every time." They ate at the kitchen island. Bennett had changed out of his bartender clothes into jeans and a t-shirt. He looked more like himself now. More like the brother she remembered before wealth and distance and her marriage had separated them. "Can I ask you something?" Natalie said. "And you have to be honest." "Shoot. Why did we really stop talking? I mean, I know we fought at my wedding, but it felt like more than that. Like you were relieved to have an excuse to cut me off." Bennett set down his chopsticks. "You want the truth?" "I want the truth. Watching you with him made me furious. Not just at him, at you for choosing him, for believing his bullshit, for letting yourself become someone I didn't recognize." He held up a hand before she could respond. I know that's not how abuse works. I know you didn't choose it. But at the time, I was just angry and scared because I could see where it was going and you couldn't. Or wouldn't, he agreed. And instead of being patient, instead of staying close, I said terrible things, told you that you were settling for the first rich guy who paid attention to you, that you were becoming someone Mom would be ashamed of. Natalie flinched. "You said that?" "I said that at your wedding, after 6 glasses of whiskey and watching you marry that piece of shit. It was cruel. It was wrong. And you told me to get out and never come back." "I don't remember that part. You blocked it out, or you were too busy being a bride. But I remember I said unforgivable things and you were right to cut me out. I just didn't realize until Grace called that I'd made it easier for him to isolate you, that I'd proved his point, that everyone would abandon you eventually." They sat in silence, eating, processing. The food tasted like memory and regret. "I was settling," Natalie finally said, "for the first guy who paid attention to me. You were right about that. After Mom died, I felt so lost, so alone. And Derek was there, confident, successful. He made me feel like I mattered. You always mattered. But I didn't feel like I did. I felt like Mom's death proved I was cursed. Everything I touched fell apart. And then Derek came along and made me feel stable, protected. I thought that was love. What do you think it was?" "Control disguised as care. He didn't love me. He loved owning me, having something beautiful and broken he could fix. Except he didn't want me fixed. He wanted me dependent. And now I'm so angry I can barely breathe." The words came out sharp, true. "I'm angry at him, at his family, at everyone who saw and did nothing. But mostly I'm angry at myself for staying, for making excuses, for wasting 5 years of my life on someone who saw me as property." Bennett reached across and took her hand. "You didn't waste anything. You survived. That's not wasting time. That's doing whatever it took to stay alive. And now you're out. That's what matters." "Was it? Because I feel like I'll never really be out. He's in my head, his voice, his rules, his version of who I am. How do I get rid of that?" "Therapy, time, reminders from people who actually love you, building a life he's not part of." Bennett squeezed her hand. "And knowing that voice isn't real. It's just his control extending past his actual presence. But it's not true. None of what he told you about yourself is true." "How do you know?" "Because I've known you for 30 years. I know you're strong. I know you're capable. I know you have terrible taste in men, but excellent taste in takeout food. I know Mom would be proud of you. Not for staying, for leaving." Natalie's eyes burned. "I miss her." "Me too." she would have hated him. She would have seen through him in 5 minutes, would have told you to run. You wouldn't have listened because you were young and stubborn, but she would have stayed anyway, would have been there to catch you when it fell apart. Like you did. Like I tried to, 3 years too late. But you came back. That's what matters. Natalie wiped her eyes. Can I ask you something else? You can ask me anything. The company, the money, the whole tech empire you built. When did that happen? Last I knew you were a software developer making decent money, but nothing like this. She gestured at the penthouse. Bennett smiled, was small and sad. You really don't know? I've been a little busy being married to a nightmare. Fair point. Short version, I sold the company 3 years ago for more money than I knew what to do with. Retired at 32, spent a year traveling, realized I was bored, started investing in startups, got good at it, built another company, sold that one too. Now I'm starting a third because apparently I'm constitutionally incapable of relaxing. And you didn't tell me any of this. You weren't speaking to me. I sent you invitation to the company launches. You never responded. I figured you'd made your choice. Derek threw them away, Natalie realized. Any mail from you, he'd see the return address and toss it. Told me you were just trying to make me feel bad about my choices. Of course he did. Bennett's jaw clenched. Isolation 101, cut off anyone who might help her escape. It worked. Not anymore. Grace stirred on the couch, sat up, rubbing her eyes, looking rumpled and exhausted and somehow still intimidating. What time is it? 7:30, Bennett said. Coffee's brewing. Bless you. Grace stumbled to the kitchen, accepted the mug Bennett handed her like it was a religious sacrament. Okay, game plan. Natalie, you need to not look at your phone today. Not social media, not news, nothing. It's going to be bad. How bad? Derek's family released a statement, painting him as the victim, saying you attacked him, that he was defending himself, that your quote-unquote brother is trying to destroy him out of jealousy. Jealousy, Natalie laughed. It came out brittle. Of what? His ability to hit pregnant women? They're spinning a narrative. You're the gold digger. He's the good man driven to extremes. Bennett's the bitter relative using his money to destroy an innocent family. It's textbook reputation management. Do people believe it? Some do, some don't. The public is split. But Natalie, here's the thing. We don't care what the public thinks. We care what 12 jurors think. And we're going to make sure they hear the truth. When does the custody hearing happen? Natalie asked. Preliminary hearing is tomorrow. They're requesting emergency temporary custody upon birth. We'll fight it. With your medical records, witness testimony, and the assault video, they won't win, but they'll try to make you look unstable. So what do I do? You take care of yourself, you rest, you focus on the baby, and you let us handle the legal warfare. Grace set down her coffee. But there's something else, something you need to decide today. What? Whether you want to press charges, criminal charges, not just civil divorce proceedings, actual assault charges that could send Derek to prison. The room went quiet. Natalie looked between her brother and her best friend, both watching her, both ready to support whatever she decided. Prison. Derek in actual prison, not just losing custody, not just losing money, losing his freedom. What are the chances he'd be convicted? Natalie asked. With the video evidence, the witnesses, the prior pattern of abuse, strong, 80% or better. He'd probably take a plea deal, reduced sentence, maybe 2 to 5 years. And if I don't press charges, he walks away, fights you in civil court, drags out the divorce, makes the next few years of your life hell, but he stays free. What about the next woman? Natalie heard herself ask. If I don't press charges, if he learns to hide it better, if he finds someone with less support than I have, what happens to her? Grace's expression softened. That's not your responsibility, Natalie. Isn't it? If I have the power to stop him and I don't, if I choose my own peace over someone else's safety, how is that different from everyone who knew and did nothing? It's different because you're the victim, Bennett said gently. You don't owe anyone your trauma. You don't have to sacrifice yourself to save hypothetical future women. But I could. I could stop him right now. Today, I could make sure he never does this again. At what cost? Grace asked. Criminal trials are brutal. Defense attorneys will tear you apart. Every mistake you ever made will be public. Every text message, every argument. They'll make you relive the worst moments of your life in front of strangers. Are you ready for that? Natalie put her hand on her belly, felt her daughter move, strong, persistent, alive because Natalie had protected her, had pulled away when Derek grabbed her, had survived long enough to be standing here making this choice. I want to talk to them, she said. The other women, the ones who are willing to testify. I want to hear their stories, and then I'll decide. Natalie, I need to know what I'm fighting for, who I'm fighting for, and I need to know I'm not alone in this. Grace and Bennett exchanged looks, some silent communication that siblings and best friends could pull off without words. Okay, Grace said finally, I'll set up meetings, but Natalie promised me something. If it becomes too much, if you need to walk away, you do it. No guilt, no shame. Taking care of yourself is not selfish. It's survival. I promise, Natalie said. She meant it. But deep down, she already knew what her answer would be. She was done protecting Derek, done protecting his reputation, done protecting anyone but herself and her daughter. If that meant burning his world down, then she would strike the match and watch it burn. The next week felt like warfare. Derek's family unleashed everything they had. Society pages ran stories about Natalie's background. Working class roots, scholarship student, mother who cleaned houses and waited tables. They made it sound like evidence of scheming rather than survival. The country club suspended Natalie's membership. Not Derek's, hers. For causing a scene. For disrupting an event. For making other members uncomfortable. Anonymous tips flooded into Child Protective Services. Claims that Natalie was unstable, drinking during pregnancy, planning to abandon her baby, using drugs. Every lie they could think of, called in by untraceable numbers. Derek appeared on the local news, contrite, wearing a polo shirt that made him look younger, vulnerable, his knuckles bandaged like he was the one who'd been hurt. I'm not perfect, he said to the camera, directly to the camera, like a man who'd been coached by professionals. I reacted badly to a difficult situation. My wife and I were arguing. Things got heated. I defend myself. It was wrong, I know that. But the way this has been twisted, the way my character has been assassinated, it's devastating. Natalie watched this from Bennett's penthouse, watched her husband lie on television, watched him cry, actual tears running down his face. He's good, she said. Her voice was flat, empty. He's been doing this his whole life, Grace replied. She was sitting next to Natalie on the couch, laptop open, making notes. The crying is a nice touch, really sells the victimhood. People believe him. Some people, not everyone. Look, Grace turned the laptop. Social media reactions. Split down the middle. Half calling Derek a monster. Half calling Natalie a liar. I can't read these, Natalie said. Then don't. You don't owe strangers your mental health. But it was everywhere. Every platform, every comment section, people who had never met her deciding whether she deserved sympathy or suspicion, debating her credibility based on her clothes, her face, her history. One comment stuck in her head. If he really abused her, why did she stay so long? Why did she stay? The question she'd been asking herself for days. The question that had 1,000 answers and no answer at all. Because she loved him, because she thought she could fix him, because she was afraid of starting over, because he told her she was nothing without him, because she believed him. Because leaving felt more dangerous than staying, because. I need to do something, Natalie said. I can't just sit here watching him control the narrative. That's exactly what you do, Grace replied. You let me handle the narrative. You focus on staying healthy. Grace, the preliminary custody hearing is tomorrow. You need to be calm, collected. The picture of maternal stability. If you go on some crusade right now, they'll use it against you. Claim you're erratic, obsessed, unfit. Natalie knew Grace was right, but sitting still felt impossible. Derek was out there lying. His mother was out there paying people. His family was out there destroying her reputation one strategic leak at a time. Her phone buzzed. She'd finally turned it back on, though she'd blocked most of the numbers that had harassed her. This was a new one. She almost ignored it. Then she saw the message. "This is Emily Carrington. Grace said you wanted to talk." One of Derek's other victims. One of the women who'd signed an NDA. Who'd taken money to disappear. Natalie's hands shook as she typed back, "Yes. When? Today, if possible. I need to do this before I lose my nerve." They met at Bennett's office, not his penthouse, his actual corporate headquarters. 57th floor, security that made the airport look casual. Emily Carrington was shown into a private conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows and furniture that cost more than most cars. She was younger than Natalie expected. 28, blonde hair pulled back, nervous hands that wouldn't stop moving. Pretty in the way that probably made men underestimate her intelligence. "Thank you for coming," Natalie said. "Thank you for fighting him." Emily's voice was quiet but steady. "I should have done it. Should have pressed charges. But his mother showed up at the hospital with a check and I just wanted it to be over." "I understand." "Do you?" Emily looked up. Her eyes were hard, haunted. "Because from where I'm sitting, you have a billionaire brother and a shark lawyer and every resource in the world. I had nothing. No family, no money, no one who believed me. So I took the money and I ran, and I've hated myself every day since." Natalie sat down across from her. "Tell me what happened. You want the whole story or just the greatest hits?" "Whatever you're comfortable sharing." Emily laughed, sharp, bitter. "Comfortable, right. Okay. I met Derek at a charity gala 5 years ago. He was charming, successful, paid attention to me like I was the only person in the room. We dated for 8 months. First few months were perfect. Then he started getting jealous, controlling, checking my phone, deciding what I wore, who I talked to, where I went. And you didn't leave." "I tried 3 times. He'd apologize, bring flowers, promise to change, cry. God, the crying. He was so good at crying. Made me feel like I was abandoning him. Like I was the cruel one for not giving him another chance." "I know that feeling," Natalie said softly. "The bruises started around month 6. First time he shoved me into a wall, said I'd embarrassed him at a work function. Second time, he grabbed my wrist so hard it broke. Third time, he strangled me until I passed out." The room went cold. Natalie felt sick. "That's when I left. Packed a bag while he was at work. Went to stay with a friend, filed for a restraining order, and then his mother showed up. Vivian. She sat in my friend's living room in a designer suit and offered me $50,000. Said Derek was under a lot of stress, that he'd made mistakes, that his family would ensure he got help. All I had to do was drop the restraining order, sign an NDA, move to another city, start over. And you took it. I took it because I was 23 and terrified, and $50,000 felt like salvation. So I signed, I moved. And I spent 5 years watching Derek get married and wondering who else he was hurting. Why are you telling me this now? Emily met her eyes. Because I saw the video. Someone leaked it. You, 6 months pregnant, getting hit in front of everyone. And I realized that could have been me if I'd stayed, if I'd married him, if I'd been trapped with the baby. And I can't let him do this to you. I can't let him get away with it again. The NDA can sue me. I don't care anymore. Some things are more important than money. And stopping him is one of them. Over the next 3 days, Natalie met with all 4 women. 4 different versions of the same story, different details, different injuries, same pattern, charm, isolation, control, violence, payoff. Sarah Mitchell had been hospitalized twice, told police she fell downstairs, took $75,000 and moved to Seattle. Jessica Huang had a restraining order that mysteriously disappeared after the Fontaine family lawyers got involved. Took $100,000 and a signed confession that she'd lied about the abuse. Amanda Rodriguez had been pushed downstairs while 4 months pregnant, lost the baby, took $50,000 and a promise that Derek would never know about the pregnancy. He knew, Natalie said when Amanda told her this part. He had to have known. He knew, Amanda confirmed. He said it was for the best, that I would have been a terrible mother, that the baby was probably not even his. Then he pushed me. By the fourth interview, Natalie was numb, past anger, past tears, just numb with the weight of it all. Are you okay? Grace asked when they were alone again. No, but I will be. Natalie looked at the notes they'd compiled. 4 women, years of abuse, tens of thousands of dollars in hush money, a family that valued reputation over decency. We're pressing charges, criminal charges. All of them. Assault, battery, harassment, whatever else we can make stick. I want him in prison, Grace. I want him to know what it feels like to be trapped, to be powerless, to be afraid. It's going to be brutal. Everything about this is brutal. At least this way, it means something. Grace nodded, started making calls, lining up the district attorney, arranging depositions, building a case that would end Derek's freedom. Natalie went to the bathroom, locked the door, sat on the closed toilet with her head in her hands. The baby kicked, hard, insistent. I know, Natalie whispered. I know, but I have to do this. I have to stop him. Not just for me, for all of them, for you. She put both hands on her belly, felt the flutter of movement beneath her palms. I'm going to teach you to be strong. Stronger than I was. I'm going to teach you to recognize danger, to trust your instincts, to leave the first time someone hurts you instead of waiting for the 10th time. The baby kicked again, like agreement, like encouragement. Okay then, Natalie stood up, looked at herself in the mirror, pale, exhausted, pregnant, terrified, but still standing. She walked back out to where Grace was waiting. What do we do next? Next, we prepare for war. The preliminary custody hearing happened on a Tuesday. Cold rain outside. Federal courthouse downtown. Security metal detectors and marble floors, and the smell of floor polish and old coffee. Natalie wore a navy dress Grace had picked out. Conservative, maternal, her hair pulled back, minimal makeup, looking like exactly what she was. A pregnant woman fighting for her unborn child. Derek sat across the courtroom with his parents and 3 lawyers. He looked good, clean-shaven, expensive suit, the picture of wealthy respectability. If you didn't know better, you'd think he was the victim here. The judge was a woman in her late 50s named Sandra Martinez, no relation to the detective. She looked at Derek with the expression of someone who'd seen too many men like him and wasn't impressed. This is a preliminary hearing, Judge Martinez said. Not a trial. We're here to determine whether there's sufficient cause for emergency custody provisions. Mr. Fontaine, your petition claims Ms. Wade is an unfit mother. Present your evidence. Derek's lead attorney stood, tall, silver-haired, voice like authority. Your Honor, our client is deeply concerned about the welfare of his unborn child. Ms. Wade has demonstrated erratic behavior, violent tendencies, and an inability to maintain stable relationships. She's currently living with her estranged brother, a man who infiltrated my client's social circle under false pretenses. She's surrounded by people who are actively working to destroy my client's reputation and, by extension, his ability to provide for his child. Ms. Morrison? The judge looked at Grace. Grace stood. She was wearing a power suit and the expression of a lawyer who was about to destroy someone's argument with facts. Your Honor, Mr. Fontaine assaulted Ms. Wade while she was 6 months pregnant. There are 40 witnesses, video evidence, medical documentation. He was arrested and charged. His petition for emergency custody is an attempt to further control and intimidate a domestic violence victim. It's abuser tactics dressed up in legal language. Your Honor, Derek's lawyer interjected, my client maintains his innocence. The incident at the country club was a misunderstanding. Ms. Wade provoked. Provoked? Grace's voice was sharp. She provoked being hit in the face? That's your defense? Counselors, Judge Martinez said. Her voice cut through the argument like ice. I've read the police reports. I've seen the medical evidence. I've watched the video. Mr. Fontaine, you hit your pregnant wife in a public place in front of dozens of witnesses. Your claims of provocation are irrelevant. A man does not get to hit a woman, pregnant or otherwise, and then claim she deserved it. Derek's face flushed. His mother started to stand. The lawyer pulled her back down. Ms. Wade has a restraining order. She's living in a secure location. She's receiving prenatal care from a respected physician. She has financial resources and a support system. I see no evidence that she's unfit. I see considerable evidence that your client is dangerous. Your Honor, I'm not finished. Mr. Fontaine, you're asking me to grant you custody of a baby that hasn't even been born yet. Based on what? Your word? Your family's reputation? That might work in your social circle, but it doesn't work in my courtroom. Petition denied. The gavel came down. Final. Absolute. Derek stood up, shouting something. His lawyers grabbed him, pulled him back down. Vivian was crying, not sad tears, angry tears, the tears of someone who was used to getting her way and couldn't process losing. Natalie sat frozen. She'd won. First real victory, first time Derek didn't get what he wanted. Let's go, Grace said quietly. They left through a side exit. Bennett's security was waiting. The press was waiting too, but Marcus and his team moved them through like a protective shield. Questions shouted, cameras flashing. Natalie kept her head down and walked. In the car, she finally breathed. You okay? Bennett asked. I don't know. I won. Why don't I feel like I won? Because it's just beginning, Grace said. That was one battle. We've got a whole war ahead. Natalie leaned her head against the window. Watched the city blur past. Gray rain and gray buildings and gray sky. Everything felt gray lately. That night, alone in Bennett's guest room, Natalie sat in the bathtub, fully clothed, water running. She'd done this before. As a child, when her mother's stress became her stress. As a teenager, when the world felt too loud. As an adult, when Derek's voice wouldn't stop echoing in her head. Sit in the tub, let the water run, let the sound drown out everything else. She didn't know how long she sat there. The water went cold. Her dress got soaked. Her hair dripped. The baby kicked periodically, little reminder that she wasn't alone, even in this dark moment. How many years? 5 years married, 2 years dating before that, 7 years of her life, most of her 20s. Gone. Given to a man who saw her as property, who hurt her, who would have kept hurting her, who might have killed her if she'd stayed. The door opened. Bennett stood there, took one look at her, and didn't ask questions. Just grabbed towels, turned off the water, wrapped her up like she was a child again, small and scared and needing protection. Come on, he said gently. He helped her out of the tub, changed her into dry clothes, made her tea she wouldn't drink, sat with her on the couch with terrible late-night television playing in the background. Tell me it gets better, Natalie said. It gets better. You're lying. Maybe, but it gets different, and different is something. They sat in silence. Eventually, Natalie fell asleep, exhausted from crying, from fighting, from existing in a world that suddenly required so much energy. She woke to her phone ringing, 3 a.m. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello? Natalie, a woman's voice, slurred, drunk or high or both. This is Sloan Ashworth. Derek's girlfriend, ex-girlfriend now, I guess. Natalie sat up. What do you want? I need to tell you something. Before I lose my nerve. Before I change my mind. Before he finds out I called you. What? He's planning something, I don't know what, but he's been making calls, talking to people, saying he's going to fix this, that you're going to regret what you did, that his mother has connections, that they'll make you disappear. Natalie's blood went cold. Disappear? Not like kill you, I don't think. Maybe? God, I don't know. He was drunk, talking to his friend James, said something about making sure you never see the baby, about having doctors ready, about some plan his mother has. Sloan, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I knew what he was. I saw the warning signs, but I thought I was different. I thought he loved me. Then I saw that video, saw him hit you, and I realized that would have been me eventually. Maybe it already was me, and I just didn't see it yet. Do you have proof, recordings, anything? I have some things, texts, voicemails. I'll send them to your lawyer. Grace Morrison, right? I'll send them. But Natalie, be careful, please. His family is dangerous. Not like physically dangerous, but they have power. They have money. They have people who do things. And they're coming for you. The line went dead. Natalie sat in the dark, heart pounding, mind racing. Bennett was asleep in the next room. Grace was at her own apartment. The security downstairs was good, but maybe not good enough. She put her hand on her belly. It's okay, she whispered. To the baby, to herself. We're safe, we're going to be safe. But she didn't believe it. Not really. Not when the people trying to hurt her had 4 generations of money and connections and a willingness to do whatever it took to protect their name. Derek's world began to collapse systematically, like watching a building demolition in slow motion. First one support beam, then another, then the whole structure coming down. The federal charges came first. Securities fraud, embezzlement, $17 million missing from company accounts. His business partner, James Thornton, had been cooperating with investigators for 6 months, wearing a wire, documenting every crime. Derek was arrested at his office, walked out in handcuffs past his employees, past the press, past everyone who'd once feared or admired him. Vivian had to watch on television. Her perfect son, her golden boy, destroyed. Good, Natalie said when Bennett showed her the news. Let him know what it feels like to be exposed, to have everyone watching your worst moment. There's more, Grace said. She was sitting at Bennett's dining table surrounded by documents. Sloane kept her promise. She sent everything. Texts, voicemails, video. Derek promised to leave you after the baby was born. Promised she'd be, quote, set for life. Explained his whole plan. What plan? He was going to claim you were mentally ill. Postpartum depression spiraling into psychosis. His mother had a psychiatric hospital lined up. Doctors who would testify you were dangerous. Once you were committed, he'd get full custody. Sloane would step in as stepmother. You'd be trapped indefinitely. The room tilted. Natalie gripped the table. They were going to institutionalize me? They were going to try. It wouldn't have worked, but they were going to try. How do you know it wouldn't have worked? Because his mother's not as smart as she thinks she is. The doctors she approached, 3 of them reported her to medical boards. Attempts to coerce false diagnoses. It's a crime. She's being investigated too. Derek's crimes were multiplying. Each day brought new revelations, affairs, harassment, abuse of power, things he'd done to employees, to women, to anyone weaker than him. And Sloane kept sending evidence. Why is she doing this? Natalie asked. Guilt, fear, rage at being used. Grace pulled up a recording on her laptop. Listen to this. It's from 3 weeks ago. Derek and Sloane in a hotel room. Natalie listened. Derek's voice casual and cruel, explaining how he'd handle Natalie, how pregnancy made her compliant, how once the baby was born, he'd, quote, handle the situation. How Natalie had no one, no money, no support, how she'd be lucky if he let her have supervised visits. He really thought I was that powerless, Natalie said. He thought wrong. The 4 other women came forward publicly. Press conference organized by Grace. Emily, Sarah, Jessica, and Amanda sat together, told their stories, showed their scars, broke their NDAs, and dared the Fontaine family to sue them. Vivian tried. Her lawyer sent threatening letters. The women's response was swift. File criminal charges for witness tampering. Derek's carefully constructed life was rubble now. Company dissolved. Business partner testifying against him. Federal charges. Assault charges. 4 women pressing charges. Sloane providing evidence of conspiracy. He tried to flee, Marcus told them one morning. Chartered a private plane to the Cayman Islands. Federal agents stopped him at the airport. He resisted arrest. Assaulted an FBI agent. He hit a federal agent? Natalie asked. Punched him in the face. It's on video. So he's definitely going to prison now. Oh yeah, multiple charges, multiple victims, multiple acts of violence. He's done. But Natalie didn't feel victorious. She felt exhausted, drained. like she'd spent months carrying a weight she could finally set down, and now her muscles didn't remember how to function without it. She started reclaiming herself in small ways. Went to her old apartment, the one Derek made her leave because it was beneath them. Her things were still in storage. Bennett had kept paying the storage fees without telling her. She found boxes of memories, her mother's recipe box, college textbooks, photos of friends she'd lost touch with, a journal from her early 20s full of dreams she'd set aside. She called those friends, one by one, apologizing, explaining without making excuses. Some understood, some didn't. That was okay. She went to her old social work office, the nonprofit where she'd worked before Derek convinced her to quit. Her former boss hugged her, offered her a consulting position, part-time, flexible, after the baby was born. "You don't have to work," Bennett said. "I know, but I want to. I need to. I need to remember who I was before him." She opened her own bank account. Bennett transferred money. She refused most of it. "Natalie, I need to know I can do this myself. I need to know I'm not dependent, not on Derek, not on you, not on anyone. That's not how family works." "No, but it's how healing works, for me." She attended a domestic violence support group, didn't speak the first time, just listened, recognized her story in every other story. The second time, she shared. "My name is Natalie. I'm 30 years old. I'm 7 months pregnant. I'm getting divorced. My husband hit me in public and I pressed charges. His family tried to destroy me. They failed. I'm going to be okay." The room applauded. Not because her story was special, but because she was there, speaking, surviving. That night, Marcus showed up at the penthouse with news. Derek tried to run again, jumped bail, made it to the airport before federal agents caught him. He's being held without bail now. Too much of a flight risk. "Good," Natalie said, "where he belongs." But that night, alone again, she cried. Not for Derek, for the version of herself who'd loved him, who'd believed his promises, who'd thought she could save him. That version of herself was dead now, and mourning her felt necessary. "I'm sorry," she whispered to that younger Natalie, the one who'd said yes when Derek proposed, who'd walked down the aisle, who'd tried so hard to make it work. "I'm sorry it took me so long to save us." The baby kicked, strong, persistent, a reminder that some good had come from the nightmare, one perfect thing that Derek couldn't ruin. Natalie put her hands on her belly. "You're my fresh start," she said. "You're proof that I survived, that I'm still here, that I'm still capable of creating something beautiful." Outside, the city glittered. Millions of lights, millions of lives. All those people with their own stories of surviving, of starting over, of finding themselves in the wreckage. Natalie was one of them now. Not special, not unique, just human, just trying. And somehow that felt like enough. Derek's trial was fast-tracked. The assault, the fraud, the flight risk, the new assault on a federal agent. Everything combining into a prosecution nightmare that Derek's expensive lawyers couldn't fix. Natalie testified on a Wednesday morning, 8 months pregnant now, waddling to the witness stand in a maternity dress, hair pulled back, no jewelry. She'd chosen to look exactly like what she was, a woman telling the truth. The prosecutor was a woman in her 40s named Rachel Torres, sharp, efficient, no patience for games. "Wade, can you describe your relationship with the defendant?" Natalie took a breath. "We were married for 5 years, dated for 2 years before that. And during that time, did the defendant ever physically harm you?" "Yes." "How many times?" "I don't know exactly, maybe 20 times. Some were small, grabbing my arm too hard, shoving me. Others were worse, bruised ribs, sprained wrist, the assault at the country club." "Why didn't you report these incidents?" "Because I was afraid. Because he told me no one would believe me. Because his family had money and power and I had nothing. Because I loved him and thought I could fix him. Because," her voice cracked, "because I didn't think I deserved better." Derek's lawyer objected. "Your Honor, the witness is editorializing." "Overruled. She's answering the question." "Continue, Ms. Wade." Natalie continued. "Describe the marriage, the slow escalation, the isolation, the control. The way Derek made her feel like she was losing her mind. made her doubt her own memories, made her believe every bruise was somehow her fault. Did you ever try to leave? Twice. Both times he convinced me to come back, promised to change, went to therapy for a few sessions, bought me things, made me feel like I was giving up on us too easily. And the night of the country club incident, Natalie described it, the tension beforehand, Derek's anger, the conversation with the bartender, her brother, though she hadn't known it at the time, the argument on the terrace, his hand across her face. How did it feel? Rachel Torres asked. In that moment, when he hit you. Like everything finally made sense. Like all the times I'd made excuses, all the times I'd convinced myself it wasn't that bad, all of it crystallized into that one moment, and I finally understood. He was never going to change. And if I stayed, he'd eventually kill me. Derek's lawyer cross-examined her, tried to poke holes, suggest she'd provoked him, imply she was after his money, claimed she'd coordinated with her brother to destroy Derek. Natalie stayed calm, answered every question, let her truth speak louder than his accusations. Ms. Wade, isn't it true that you stand to benefit financially from this divorce? I stand to benefit from being alive. The money is secondary to breathing. Your Honor, sustained. Counselor, tread carefully. When Natalie stepped down, Grace was waiting, gave her a small smile. You did great. I just told the truth. Sometimes that's enough. The other women testified. Emily, Sarah, Jessica, Amanda. One by one, they told similar stories. Different details, same pattern. Derek's lawyer tried to suggest they were coordinating, trying to benefit from Natalie's case. What exactly am I benefiting from? Emily asked. Public humiliation? Death threats? Having to relive the worst time of my life in front of strangers? If this is a benefit, I'd hate to see what punishment looks like. Vivian took the stand. Derek's lawyer thought it would help. It didn't. Rachel Torres cross-examined her with surgical precision. Mrs. Fontaine, how many women has your family paid to sign non-disclosure agreements regarding your son? I don't recall the exact number. Would 4 be accurate? I'd have to check my records. You don't remember writing checks for $50, $75, and $100,000? I write many checks. Did you attempt to bribe physicians to provide false psychiatric evaluations of Miss Wade? I was exploring options for my daughter-in-law's care. Without her knowledge or consent, I was concerned for her welfare. Were you concerned for her welfare when your son broke her wrist, bruised her ribs, hit her while she was pregnant? Those are allegations. Documented by multiple physicians, witnessed by 40 people at your country club, recorded on video. Mrs. Fontaine, did you instruct club staff to disable security cameras the night of the assault? Vivian's composure cracked. I wanted to protect my family. By helping your son assault his pregnant wife without evidence? I didn't know he was going to do that. But you knew he'd done it before, to 4 other women, and you paid them to stay quiet, didn't you? Vivian didn't answer, just sat there, makeup perfect, expression frozen, the picture of wealth trying desperately to buy its way out of consequences. By the end of her testimony, even Derek looked at his mother with something like disgust. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Evidence was overwhelming. Witness testimony was damning. Derek's own actions, the flight attempts, the assault on a federal agent, the recorded conversations with Sloan, sealed his fate. The jury deliberated for 4 hours, guilty on all counts. Sentencing came a week later. Natalie sat in the courtroom, 9 months pregnant now, any day expecting labor. She wanted to hear this, needed to hear this. Judge Martinez looked at Derek without sympathy. Mr. Fontaine, you've demonstrated a pattern of violence, manipulation, and disregard for the law. You've hurt multiple women. You've stolen from your company. You've attempted to flee justice twice. You've shown no remorse, only entitlement. Derek stood in his prison jumpsuit. No expensive suits now, no family money magic, just a man facing consequences. You're sentenced to 12 years in federal prison for securities fraud and embezzlement, 5 years for assault and battery, 3 years for assault on a federal agent. Sentences to run consecutively, 15 years total. 15 years. Derek would be 53 when he got out. His daughter would be a teenager. His life as he knew it was over. Vivian screamed, actually screamed in the courtroom. Had to be removed by bailiffs. Richard sat silent, aged a decade and 3 months. Derek was led away. He looked at Natalie as he passed. She met his eyes. Felt nothing. No satisfaction. No anger. Just emptiness where he used to live in her head. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Bennett's security held them back. But Natalie paused. Made a decision. "I have a statement," she said. Grace tried to stop her. She shook her head. This was important. "My name is Natalie Wade. I'm a survivor of domestic violence. For 5 years, I made excuses for my abuser. I blamed myself. I stayed silent. Today, I'm breaking that silence." The cameras focused on her. Every lens, every microphone. If my story helps one other woman recognize the warning signs, if it helps one other woman leave, if it helps one other woman understand that abuse is never her fault, never deserved, never acceptable, then speaking up matters. Domestic violence thrives in silence, in shame, in the belief that no one will help. But I was helped. My brother, my best friend, strangers who became allies, 4 women who broke their silence to support mine. I'm here today because people believe me, because there are consequences, because justice sometimes actually happens. She paused, put her hand on her belly. The baby was quiet now, listening. "To everyone watching who's in a situation like I was, you're not crazy, you're not overreacting, you're not too sensitive. If someone hurts you, physically or emotionally, it's not love. Love doesn't leave bruises. Love doesn't make you afraid. And you deserve better. You deserve so much better. Please, get help, call someone, leave, do whatever it takes to survive, because your life matters. Your safety matters. You matter." She walked away, didn't look back, didn't wait for questions. In the car, Bennett handed her a tissue. She was crying and hadn't realized it. "That was perfect," Grace said. "Was it?" "It was real. That's all that matters." Natalie's phone started ringing immediately. Numbers she didn't know, she let them go to voicemail. Later, Grace would tell her what they said. Women thanking her, sharing their own stories, asking for help, asking for hope. "You started something today," Bennett said. "I just told the truth. Sometimes that's revolutionary." That night, Natalie went into labor. Perfect timing, like her daughter had been waiting for the verdict before making her entrance. 17 hours later, at 6:32 in the morning, Eleanor Grace Wade was born. 7 pounds, 4 ounces, full head of dark hair, her mother's eyes, strong lungs, healthy. Bennett held her first, tears streaming down his face. "Hey, little one, I'm your Uncle Bennett. I'm going to spoil you rotten." Grace held her second, kissed her tiny forehead. "I'm Aunt Grace. I'm going to teach you to be a badass." Then Natalie held her daughter, her reason, her fresh start, the proof that she'd survived. "Hi, baby girl," she whispered. "I'm your mom, and I promise you, nobody will ever make you small. Nobody will ever make you afraid. I'm going to teach you to be strong, to trust yourself, to leave the first time someone hurts you instead of the 10th time. I'm going to teach you that love should feel like safety, not fear." Eleanor yawned, grabbed Natalie's finger with surprising strength. "Yeah," Natalie said, laughing, crying. "You're going to be just fine." 3 weeks after Eleanor's birth, Natalie sat in the rocking chair by her daughter's crib at 3 in the morning, feeding, rocking, exhausted but not afraid. This was different exhaustion, natural exhaustion, the kind that came from caring for someone you loved, not surviving someone who hurt you. Eleanor ate hungrily, her tiny hand gripping Natalie's finger, strong already, determined. "You know what today is?" Natalie said softly. "It's been exactly 4 months since the country club. 4 months since everything changed. 4 months since I finally left." The baby's eyes were closed, content, safe. She'd never know fear in her own home, never know what it felt like to walk on eggshells, never know to flinch when someone raised their voice. "I used to think love meant sacrifice," Natalie continued, "that if I just gave enough, changed enough, became enough, then he'd stop hurting me. But that's not how it works. Love shouldn't require you to disappear." Eleanor finished eating, Natalie burped her, gentle pats on that tiny back. I thought strength meant enduring, surviving, lasting. But real strength is knowing when to walk away. Real strength is choosing yourself even when it's terrifying, even when you don't know what comes next. She laid Eleanor back in her crib, covered her with the soft blanket Bennett had bought. Handmade, ridiculously expensive. Perfect. I thought I needed Derek, needed his money, his status, his approval, but I didn't. I just needed to remember who I was before him. And I'm still finding her, still discovering what I like, what I want, who I am when no one's telling me who to be. Eleanor slept soundly. Natalie watched her chest rise and fall, counted breaths, the way she'd counted breaths when she was scared. But now she was counting them with gratitude. Here's what I know now, little one. The prison door was never locked. I could have left any time, but I'd made myself the warden. Too afraid of judgment, too afraid of starting over, too afraid of admitting everyone who warned me was right. Fear of humiliation kept me in actual danger, and the only person who could save me was the one I'd stopped trusting. Myself, 6 months later. Eleanor's first laugh, high and joyful, delighted by Bennett making silly faces. The sound filled the penthouse, filled Natalie's heart. She'd started working again. Part-time consulting at the domestic violence nonprofit, using her experience to help others. It was hard sometimes, triggering, but also healing, turning her pain into purpose. Her phone rang, unknown number. She'd gotten better at ignoring those, but this one felt different. Hello? Natalie, this is Patricia Kingsley from the country club. Natalie tensed. Yes? I wanted to call personally to apologize and to tell you something. I'm listening. I've stepped down as club president. What happened that night, the cameras, the way we prioritize dues over decency, it's unforgivable. I've spent the last 6 months liquidating my assets. I've established a fund for domestic violence prevention programs, $10 million in Eleanor's name. Your mother's Eleanor. For the mother who worked so she could dream bigger. And for your daughter who'll grow up knowing women deserve better. Natalie was quiet, processing. You don't have to accept, Patricia continued. I know it doesn't undo anything. Doesn't change what happened, but I needed to do something. Needed to take responsibility. Thank you, Natalie said finally. Not just for the money, but for admitting you were wrong. That matters. After the call, Natalie sat with Eleanor in her lap. Thought about forgiveness, about accountability, about how healing wasn't linear, wasn't simple. She heard through mutual friends that Derek was struggling in prison, isolated, angry, refusing to participate in programs, blaming everyone but himself. She felt nothing about it, not satisfaction, not sympathy, just indifference. He was a chapter in her story, important because it taught her who she was, but not defining, not anymore. Eleanor's first birthday party was small. Real friends, Bennett, Grace, Marcus, the women from the support group, survivors she'd helped, her old college roommate, her social work colleagues, no society people, no country club members, no one who'd turned their backs when things got hard, just people who'd earned their place in her life by showing up, by believing her, by helping her rebuild. The cake was chocolate, Eleanor's face covered in frosting, laughing, reaching for more. Bennett was trying to assemble a toy that definitely required an engineering degree. Grace was telling stories from law school, making everyone laugh. Patricia Kingsley showed up uninvited. Natalie saw her at the door, hesitated. I came to apologize again, Patricia said, and to bring something. A letter from the country club board. They've revoked the Fontaine family membership permanently. They've updated their policies, mandatory reporting for suspected abuse. Security cameras can no longer be disabled for any reason. Staff trained to recognize signs of domestic violence. It's not enough, but it's a start. Natalie took the letter. Thank you. How's your daughter? Perfect, strong, happy, everything I want her to be. Good, Patricia smiled. It was genuine, sad but genuine. I won't stay. I just wanted you to know what happened to you. It changed things, changed me. I'm sorry it took your pain to wake people up, but we're listening now. After she left, Grace raised an eyebrow. You okay? Yeah, I think I am. Natalie looked around at the party, at her daughter covered in cake, at her found family celebrating. Derek thought he could destroy me. Instead, he woke me up. His worst moment became my best beginning. To beginnings, Bennett said, raising a glass of champagne. Everyone raised their glasses. Natalie raised her sparkling cider. To beginnings, she echoed. That night, after everyone left, Natalie sat in the rocking chair again. Eleanor asleep in her arms. The apartment quiet, city lights glittering outside. A year ago, she was trapped. Now she was free. A year ago, she was silent. Now she was speaking. A year ago, she thought her life was ending. She was right. That life did end. This one. The real one. The one where she made her own choices and set her own boundaries and taught her daughter that love should never hurt. This one was just beginning. Eleanor stirred, grabbed Natalie's finger in her sleep, held on tight. I've got you, Natalie whispered. Always. And nobody will ever make you small, baby girl. Nobody, not even me. I'll teach you to be strong. Not by enduring, but by choosing. By leaving when something hurts. By trusting yourself. By knowing your worth. She thought about Derek sometimes. Wondered if he understood what he'd lost. Wondered if he'd ever take responsibility. Probably not. Men like him rarely did. But that wasn't her problem anymore. Her problem was raising her daughter, building her career, healing her trauma, creating a life worth living. And she was doing it, one day at a time, one choice at a time, one breath at a time. You know what I learned? Natalie said to sleeping Eleanor. That I'm stronger than I thought, braver than I felt, more capable than I believed. Derek spent 5 years trying to convince me I was nothing without him. Turns out I'm everything because I left him. Eleanor's grip tightened on Natalie's finger. Like agreement, like encouragement. We're going to be okay, baby girl. Better than okay. We're going to thrive. We're going to show everyone what it looks like when a woman refuses to stay small. When she chooses herself. When she teaches her daughter to do the same. Outside, the city continued its endless motion. Millions of lights, millions of lives, all those people with their own stories of survival, of starting over, of finding themselves in wreckage. Natalie was one of them now, not special, not unique, just human, just trying, just succeeding one small victory at a time. And Eleanor? Well, Eleanor would grow up knowing that her mother was a fighter, that love meant safety, that strong women raised strong daughters, that nobody had the right to make you small. Natalie kissed Eleanor's forehead, breathed in that perfect baby smell. Nobody will ever make you small, baby girl, she whispered one more time. Nobody, not even me, I promise. Eleanor smiled in her sleep, and Natalie knew. Everything she'd survived, everything she'd endured, everything she'd fought through, it was all worth it for this moment, for this perfect, peaceful beginning. Natalie's story didn't end with a courtroom victory. It ended with something better. Freedom, a daughter who'll never know fear in her own home, and the knowledge that speaking up can change everything. If this story resonated with you, if it reminded you that survival is possible, that justice sometimes happens, that strength isn't enduring abuse but having the courage to leave it, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Share your thoughts, share your own story if you're comfortable. You never know who needs to hear that they're not alone. And if you want more stories like this, stories about women who refused to stay small, who chose themselves even when it was terrifying, who turned their pain into power, hit that subscribe button. Because every week I bring you narratives about ordinary people doing extraordinary things, about victims becoming survivors, about endings that are really beginnings. Thank you for listening. Thank you for believing survivors. And remember, if you're in a situation like Natalie's, please reach out. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24/7. You deserve safety, you deserve peace, you deserve better. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other.